WrestleMania can be a nightmare. One day you've got plans for a year, then the main person you booked your show around has to go away. It's back to the drawing board. It was even more nuts because, of course, Vince McMahon often changed his mind hours before Raw, so yeah, over time there have been some crazy shifts. It's almost worse following a WrestleMania because that event serves to start the new season of WWE. You're not meant to still be searching for a direction. Sometimes it does go bad, though. So I am Simon Miller, and here's the worst contenders. Number 10, Edge retires. It is hard to convey how horrible this was unless you were watching live. Edge just retained his World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania 27 against Alberto Del Rio, and that felt important. Del Rio had won the Royal Rumble after all. Turned out the powers that be just wanted to extend this feud through two Extreme Rules, where, Adam Copeland's neck injuries were deemed so severe, he had to walk away instantly. This was heartbreaking. Best friend Christian was the last-minute replacement, which of course made all the sense in the world. Even in reality, you would fight for your buddy. It went one step further as Christian actually won the World Heavyweight title too, even though Alberto was planned for it originally. All things considered, can't be mad at that. We needed happiness somewhere along this road. At least we got a tiny bit of it. Number 9, Hulk Hogan quits. We all remember this, and if you don't sweet, you should keep it that way. But after WrestleMania 9's main event, Hulk Hogan stormed to the ring to challenge Yokozuna for the WWF title, and won it in about 20 seconds. It's genuinely perplexing. That was not the plan leading into the show, as you can see when you watch it. Hulk and Buddy Brutus the Barber Beefcake would win the tag team titles, whereas Zunes would beat Bret Hart and be the evil heel champion so the Hitman could feud with him. Fine, nice, good. Of course, one day Hogan decided this doesn't work for me, brother, and didn't fancy being a tag team champion. Instead, he could win the big title and hold it until SummerSlam before dropping it to Hart. Now, that is a point of contention, but it is out there. Sounds pretty plausible. That idea then became complicated thanks to Hulkamania running wild, and when Hulk noticed numbers weren't going in the right direction, he basically bailed. That's right, quit the company. It meant when the King of the Ring 93 rolled around, we were back to having Yokes as the WWF champion, and honestly, what a mess. People wonder why the promotion struggled during this time. I think I know. Number 8, Goldberg makes his WWE debut. WrestleMania 19, Austin versus The Rock. Still crazier, this was Stone Cold's last match, and he deliberately kept it quiet. Given his star power, that's nuts. When I say it was on the down low too, this of course goes for the creative team, so any plans they did have went up in smoke the next day. Now, Vince McMahon knew, but he was sworn to secrecy, and Austin didn't make any decisions till later in the day. This really was an out-of-hand situation. Writers were instantly tasked with coming up with non-wrestling roles for the Rattlesnake, as well as pushing the hell out of one Bill Goldberg. I mean, he had just signed, he was debuting. Go big. It meant that The Rock could have an instant new opponent, and this could be main event stuff. That's why at one point it was going to be Goldberg versus the People's Champion at Mania itself. So there was a lot of moving parts here. Sadly, the Goldberg run didn't go that well. We would have to wait till 2016 until we got it right. Number 7, Shawn Michaels turns face. Shawn Michaels was such a good heel, Vince McMahon once told him he's not allowed to go babyface. This was during the WrestleMania 11 story between HBK and Diesel. Shawn had to be the bad guy. As we know, the Heartbreak Kid could be a tenacious son of a gun though, so after Michaels lost at the Show of Shows, the next night his bodyguard Sid destroyed him. Here we go. It was the best way to have Shawn vanish for a while before returning as a hero, but plans had to change. As Sid was going to do this, he would be inserted into the world title picture instead. That worked too. Look at him. It certainly clicked for a while as Shawn also won his own world title before he went mega heel once more in 1997. That's another reason this guy is all time. When you break it down, pun intended, he really could do it all. Number 6, Ricky Steamboat and the Honky Tonk Man. It is my favorite time of the year. We get to remember that within the world of the wrestling story, the Honky Tonk Man woke up one day and decided pretending to be Elvis was the best way to succeed. I love it. I suppose he does have the proof it worked, because not only did he defeat Ricky Steamboat for the Intercontinental title, he went on to smash records. Good work. There was way more to this though, and a lot of it came from a decision Steamboat made. Made sense at the time. WWE expected Ricky to work a busier schedule as the new Intercontinental Champion following WrestleMania 3. But the Dragon saw it differently. Given that his wife was expecting the birth of the first son, he asked for some time off, which, let's face it, is perfectly fair. He is a human being. Sadly, 80s wrestling was nuts, and Vince McMahon was so outraged Ricky would want this, he just changed all the plans. That's right. Now, it was Butch Reed who was booked to beat Steamboat from nowhere, but as Reed no-showed the planned event, we went and got the Tonky Man instead. What a mad chain of events, and all because somebody wanted to be present for their child. Number 5, Shawn Michaels' first retirement. If you watch the 1998 Royal Rumble, you can tell something was up. When The Undertaker hurls Shawn Michaels into the casket at ringside, HBK's back just crumbles. You can see the pain in his face. As we would find out soon, this was really serious, and while he gutted it out through to WrestleMania 14, where he dropped the WWF title to Steve Austin, that was that. He had to go away and try and get things fixed. At one stage, the company was definitely expecting to do the rematch at the next pay-per-view. That now couldn't happen because, again, Michaels was in bad shape. It's one of the reasons Mick Foley did magically become Dude Love, because we needed a new opponent, so we basically just invented a character. It actually made sense because Stone Cold was about to totally rewrite what a WWE main event style was, and we needed an expert brawler to get that across. With that in mind, there was no one better than Foley. Thankfully, Shawn was able to return in 2002 and go on another ridiculously good run, but the irony of that, a year later, it would be Austin who walked off into the sunset. Wrestling is nuts. Number 4, Kurt Angle is drafted to ECW. The early to mid 2000s was Kurt Angle's best run in the WWE if you love super serious Kurt. The man was just on fire and his matches were next level good. He could work with anyone. He also won the World Championship in 2006 when he was the last man standing in a Battle Royal, which went through to WrestleMania 22. He then lost to Rey Mysterio. It still meant Angle was in a top guy position, which is why it was kind of weird when basically right after all of this, he was drafted to WWECW. That seemed mad. The brand was quite clearly considered in last spot. As we would soon find out, this was not part of some elaborate plan. McMahon and Kurt had fallen out over Angle's increasingly worrying painkiller problem, and Angle had asked for his release, and he was told that's not going to happen, so why don't we take the pressure off by moving you to ECW? Kurt has then spoken about sending dozens of erratic texts to Vince after this because he was just so out of it, so really we should have just given him some time off. None of this was scripted post-Mania, however, and it got so bad that come August, he was finally allowed to go. Then Angle turned up in TNA. This was not the best time. Number 3, the two-man power trip. Oh, what could have been? After Steve Austin turned heel at Mania 17, the original plan was simple. You can also flip Triple H and give him his good guy run. Let's do something different. I think this would have been great, but the game had an epiphany, I suppose. How about no? That's right, he wanted to stay bad guy too. I guess Hunter had serious power at the time as the company adjusted the story, even though 18 months before this, he was trying to kill Stone Cold with a hit and run. They must be forgiving folk. It's why Triple H soon won the IC title to try and get this two-man power trip over, and I tell you, it could have worked. There was something to two supervillains being buddies. Of course, weeks after this, Triple H tore his quad and was basically gone for the entire year, and this needs to be spoken about more. We all know Steve's heel turn was a little crazy, but it was also changed last minute. Maybe we could have made it more palatable for the waves of people that tuned out because they just wanted to see Austin kick Vince McMahon's ass forever. The thing is, though, my friends, we shall never know. Number 2, The Shield versus Evolution. What a mad year 2014 was. Dave Bautista finally got his big return to the WWE, which fans were happy about. Problem was, they were not pleased with the company itself. That was going to take over everything. Therefore, because Vince McMahon was not pushing Daniel Bryan in the way audiences wanted, everything else got booed. This included Big Dave. Batista was so astute he knew this was coming and told everyone he should be a heel, but nope, we're not doing that. Instead, he won the Royal Rumble as a good guy, and yes, everybody booed. Great, that works. It also meant the planned Mania main event between Dave and Randy Orton now had to be looked at, and you know the deal. WWE finally pulled the trigger on Bryan, and it ruled. It's a forever moment. Obviously, post the show of shows, we had to do something new, though, because Daniel wasn't written into this spot. WWE was essentially bullied into it. That's why the decision was made to reunite Orton, Batista, and Triple H as Evolution. Given the Shield with a brand new shiny toy, let's just do that feud instead. But we did. It never really got where you would expect, and I think that is down to the last-minute nature of it all. Dave was gone again by June, and I can't believe he ever thought his run would be that short. It did lead to the Seth Rollins heel turn, I suppose. Wasn't all that bad. Number 1, Hulk Hogan, WWE Champion. In 2002, this was so long ago it's been lost, but trust me, It's totally bonkers. Getting into all the nitty-gritty takes time as well, because in many ways it does start with that Triple H quad tear. His absence meant he missed the entirety of the invasion angle, which wasn't the worst, and when he was ready to come back in January 2002, man, people loved this guy. I was one of them. There was no other option other than crowning him as the new world champion, which we did do at WrestleMania 18. He beat Chris Jericho. Happy days. The nuance of that night is lost if you just leave it there, though, because on the same show we got Hulk Hogan versus The Rock. We're not going to go through that because we all know. Nobody was ready for that sort of reaction, however. And when Hulkamania returned to Raw the following night, this was even crazier. Fans just roared and roared. Nostalgia was running wild. Given that here Vince McMahon was still very much booked to what the audience are telling you, dude, he felt there was no option. So at Backlash, which was only weeks after Mania, we got Triple H versus Hulk, and yep, Hogan became the champion. That's unreal. Now, I'm sure Hulk was in Vince's ear, because when wasn't he? But nobody wrote this down. It was all a response to what was happening, which is why soon after we went back to the drawing board. Now, I'm not saying there wasn't something to this, because there was, but the novelty ran out. That's life. It meant The Undertaker soon defeated Hogan, and of course Hulk didn't like that. Within a year, he left the WWE. Wrestling politics. Know any other matches that changed course post-WrestleMania that nobody saw coming? Make sure you leave us a comment below before you like the video, share the video. Why not subscribe? You can also click the video on the screen for even more WrestleMania WWE facts, but otherwise, I appreciate you, my friends, and I will talk to you again very soon.